Good evening. Thank you for rocking with me tonight. My name is Michael O'Keefe, aka the Movie Mystic. And the stream tonight is a legacy stream focusing on my history at, doing Mystic and Severe on CKCU FM. And the stream before was looking at the show when it was mostly music and some interviews. And this stream is going to be looking at when this show changed. So from August 2018 to May 2019, it was one thing, and then from June 2019 to this present moment, it was something else. But that's a lot of broadcasts to break down, and I was a little overwhelmed, actually, if I'm going to be 100 with you, with reading all the descriptions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to each broadcast for this stream, and then we'll look at the text, and then later on you can pause it if you really want to read it. But I'll just touch on it for a minute. I'm not going to read all of them because that was just insane. That was nuts. And especially for the third one, I got 40 broadcasts to cover. I did 18 the last time I was talking for an hour. And I'm not talking for 2.5 hours. I refuse. Not quite there yet. No. So basically, why it stops in March 2020 is because that's when coronavirus happens, and then I start doing this show from home, and it's totally different. But we'll get into that on the third legacy stream for Mystic and Severe on CKCU FM. Of course, this show will continue, but this website will be gone. This page will be gone in a matter of weeks. But you can follow me here on YouTube, Mystic and Severe Radio, Movie Mystic on, Letterboxd, Twitter, and Instagram. And I will be doing some TikTok stuff, too. I'm going to be making shorts for YouTube, and then I'll also go on TikTok. So I'm sort of curious to see where that will go in the future. I just downloaded the app freaking yesterday? Yeah, it was yesterday. Anyways, without any further ado, so yeah, this is the last broadcast, City of Severe. These are the last 3 broadcasts. And there will be one more broadcast next week. And then I don't know when this page will go down. So you can see right here, there are 87 broadcasts so far. It's a show that it's gone every 2 weeks. And each broadcast is 2 hours. So it was a lot of work. It was a lot of fun. Okay, so let's get to it. Hungry for more action. Hungry for more action. 5 interviews with 5 lovers of innovative action cinema. Film historian Mike Siegel, producer Alan Hoffmanis, director Uwe Boll, director Nawana IGG, and film historian Howard S. Berger. And then the tracks were, what do we have here? Oh, right. This one, it was definitely new territory, for sure. One second. Oops. That wasn't me farting. That was me moving the table. So what would happen is I would play a track between each interview going forward. But I had so much stuff in this broadcast that, the idea hadn't occurred to me. So it was just it was a shift to 100% just to interviews. And this is the only broadcast like that. It's pretty intense. So with Mike Siegel, the former co-host, is on that interview, and we talk about Sam Beckenbaugh and some of the stuff he's done on for Blu-ray. But yeah, he's a German film historian. I almost linked up with him in Berlin, but I think it was more of you come to me versus I come to you sort of thing, proposition from his end. And I did not leave Berlin to see anybody while I was there. No, I was pretty stubborn about that. And then Alan Hoffmanis and Nawana IGG are the Wakaliwood boys. Nawana's the director, Alan's the producer. And I've done a stream on Wakaliwood. If you check out Wakaliwood Invasion, you can get my thoughts on Wakaliwood. But yeah, big fan. And then Uwe Boll, that was hilarious. It was one of the funniest interviews, or maybe the funniest interview I've ever done, which doesn't really even surprise me now that I say that. And, having been a fan of his interviews on that Fox News show, Red Eye, it's like a pop culture show. It's not like Sean Hannity, okay? I thought it was hilarious. I'd seen it on YouTube when I first got hip to YouTube in like 2006 or something, 2005. No, 2006. I was in university. But anyways, hilarious. And then Howard S. Berger. So yeah, that guy's great. That guy can talk too. If you are trying to fill time with great content, in radio or you podcast or whatever, unless his talents, he's very, very smart and he can go, man. And I was ready. For that. We did like a 20-minute interview and it was 2 questions. Typically I get like 10 questions in that period of time. And then of course I knew what was coming. I was ready. That interview was an hour, and he covered an entire broadcast. Of course, my reviews feel that too. But anyways, this kicked off the whole trend of, more interviews for a long format. So, like, a lot of stuff is going on in this, and it was all about the sort of classy action movies that I like, or like high concept action movies, I should say. Yeah, so like Peckinpah, Charles Bronson with the focus, and Uwe Boll's a real life tough guy, and then you got Hollywood. So definitely a memorable show. Then we had, is it future? Is it past? 4 interviews on our relation with old movies in 2019 with composer Simon Bossel, Video Watchdog's Tim Lucas, writer Courtney Joyner, and Arrow Video's Michael McKenzie. And then I had some New York Asian Film Festival coverage. So this was crazy. In 2019, I saw so many of those damn movies. I saw like 30 at least, 36 or 32, something. I don't even remember. I saw so many of those Asian movies from the New York Asian Film Festival. And you know what's amazing is some of those movies are still coming out. This is 2019. So I'm so glad I've been covering that film festival for the past little bit. It's been a lot of fun. And then, Michael McKenzie, we just talked about him and, worked for Arrow Video, and he's a super sweet guy. And my middle name is Mackenzie. My first name is Michael, but my middle name is Mackenzie, and I had fun talking to him about that. Courtney Joyner had great stories, hilarious, and he's a very talented writer on, some good stuff out there, some wild exploitation movies from like the 80s and 90s. And he's also like big into westerns. He's written Western novels. And then Tim Lucas, he is like, the OG Troy Howarth, I guess. or Troy Howarth is the new school, Tim Lucas, whatever you want to say. So that's just to say he's like, very prolific for giving audio commentaries and writing books on film. I know his book on Mario Bava is considered to be the best book on film by Quentin Tarantino, and it took a long time for him to make it, to write it. I talked to him about it a little bit, but we were primarily talking about Godard and Alpha Film. And yeah, sometimes, maybe I should have made it about Mario Bava, because, just sometimes French or German or weird European things get lost on American film critics, I've found. And then Simon Boswell, no disrespect, that's just kind of the culture. I don't think they would really disagree with that either. Well, actually, if they're being honest, they wouldn't. Definitely not. And Tim even says that. Okay, now I've covered my ass many ways. Simon Boswell, super cool. We talked about Kanye West, Alejandro Jodorowsky, Dario Argento, punk rock, disdain for Goblin, and sort of like prog rock, because he's a punk rock guy. That was a great broadcast. So, yeah, solid follow-up. Very solid follow-up. And then we just had Tucson's again. That's a lot of audio. There's a lot of interviews. I'm not used to seeing so few tracks being listed. A couple of Simon Boswell tracks. Okay. and mystical content and severe engagements. So Eve Harlow was a lot of fun. She is a Toronto-based actress, and she had a movie with John Lithgow called The Tomorrow Man, which I thought was a stupid freaking movie. But I thought she was very likable talking for this interview. And people like that interview on YouTube because she's a very charming actress. And then we got Bob Murawski, the guy behind Grindhouse Releasing, pals with Sam Raimi, editor for Sam Raimi, editor, Oscar award-winning editor for The Hurt Locker, and also got his hands on those like lost Orson Welles movies. He like edits them now because there's The Other Side of the Wind. And then there's also one with Dennis Hopper, which the title escapes you right now. And then we got Mike Malloy, whose documentary Eurocrime is a lot of fun. And then I do believe he's got a YouTube channel discussing action cinema, and he's a very, very cool guy. He likes the Charles Bronsons, the Steve McQueens, the Eurocrime, French Connection, stuff like that. And then Director Sabu, who had some cool movies at the festival, the New York Asian Film Festival that year, and also acted in Ichi the Killer. And I couldn't put his face to the role at the time, but subsequently I've seen the movie again, and yeah, super. That's great. That's great that I've interviewed an actor from that movie, which I hold near and dear to me. Okay, so we have more tracks. Okay, so we have slightly more tracks. Not too many, but that's okay. This is different as well because I used to have to make sure it was right at the top of the hour. The show was like in two halves, so it would typically be like 6 tracks, but we got like 5, like minimum. But I got 5 tracks here, and those are good movies to take from. Anyways. Mystic and Severe's Fantasia International Film Festival Extravaganza. Which of course isn't. I had to read the write-up because I don't know who I interviewed here. So, alright. So David Gregory, of course, and Joe Rubin. David is, the head cheeks at Severin Films, and Joe Rubin is one of the top dogs at Vinegar Syndrome. And so that's cool. I forgot that I had them on the same broadcast. But that's a fact that happened. And I was really into at the time. I had just seen RoboWar from Severin, and I was about to watch Night Killer that night after I interviewed David, which I reviewed. Night Killer I reviewed on in October 28th on this show. Anyways, and then Joe Rubin was a very charming guy. Told me about the history of Vinegar Syndrome. Very cool. Then Rob Grant and Sheila McLeod. Okay, so Rob did Harpoon and Sheila did Astronaut. Harpoon, I realize I'm quoted in like any other movie that reminds me of Repulsion. Or sorry, Knife in the Water. And there are a few, it looks like. They're all like Fantasia movies. It's like, there was Harpoon, and then there was Bleed With Me, and then there was another one this year, which the name is not coming to me right now. Maybe The Righteous. I'm not quite sure. And Astronaut was cute, but not really my thing. And then David Marmor. So this interview actually made it to the Blu-ray of the movie we were discussing, 1BR. So I don't think I can put that on YouTube. I don't know. I should ask them. But I signed a contract, so I'm pretty sure it's theirs, and I can't upload it. And then we had all this fun music from Al Festa, who you should really look up. He's like, the Italian Z-grade John Carpenter. And then there was another Fantasia broadcast, which seemed incredible. Incredible to do 2 mega broadcasts. And then in September I did it again, and this year I did it again. like way bigger, like 5, right? With Tiff. But anyways, so we had. I know who I talked to basically by just reading this title. So Brian Trenchard Smith, who did Leprechaun 3 and 4, okay, right, big, cool. He did a movie. He's an Australian director. He did The Man from Hong Kong. I think George Lazenby was in that. I don't remember though. And then Nicole Kidman in BMX Bandits. That was, I believe, her first role. Maybe first movie role. And then we had, I gotta get the names. The guys from Critters. Yeah, okay. So Tashina Washington and Jada Knoll. They were the actors. And their director Bobby Miller. And that's a fun interview. I know the movie's not really my thing, but that's okay. And then I talked to freaking Paul Williams from Phantom of the Paradise, as well as the directors of the bizarre, semi-bizarre super fans of the film, Phantom of Winnipeg. I talked to the directors of that. So that was fun. Fun show. And what would we play? Alright, so Once Upon a Time in Hollywood it came out, so I played some of that stuff. And I was happy to review that. It's the only Tarantino movie I've been able to review on the air. For the demo of my first show, we talked about The Hateful Eight. And then, these songs are fun. BMX Bandits. Cues. The Muppet movie, because Paul Williams worked in the Muppet movie. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, he made that soundtrack. Aw. That's a good one. Way more tracks, though. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Alright. Anyways. Okay. From Japan to Roger Corman. Interviews with Thomas Hodge, who does a lot of poster art. And he's cool. Alan Arkish, who he used to edit Roger Corman trailers back in the 70s. Jesus Christ. I just read a book on Roger Corman, which is great. I have it right here. I'm going to say the title. It's called Crab Monsters, Teenage Cavemen, and Candy Striped Nurses. Roger Corman, Kid of the Bee movies. And so it's got a lot of quotes from people who worked with Roger, and Alan's all over it. And so that's fresh in my mind, and that's great stuff. He directed Rock and Roll High School for Roger. And, did a bunch of stuff in TV and film later on. And then Jasper Sharp. So he is, really knee-deep into Japanese and Asian movies. What was the damn thing? He had a blog called Midnight Eye. Pretty sure, damn it, with Tom Mess. And then they broke it up, but maybe they come back together. Tom was on the other show twice, and then Jasper was on this show twice. And I interviewed him in person in Berlin. But that won't make it to this broadcast. That'll be a conversation for the next one. And then we had, the Roger Corman trailers. That was fun. And I think we talked about like Godzilla. It was sort of like a little all over the place. And Alan Arkish I was so into. I was pretty happy to talk to him because I'm a big fan of Trailers from Hell, the YouTube channel he works on. And then, of course, I go away to Toronto, and the School of Bass guys do their thing. I don't know these tracks. So, but a lot of CanCon. Thanks, guys. Everything's Canadian. Wow. But there was a couple of interviews. So, wow. I had 3 interviews. You got Peter Kopowski talking about Midnight Madness that year. Wendy Littner, who had a show on CBC Gems. And Nance Ackerman, who had a documentary about female incarceration in the Maritimes in Canada. Okay, so, wow, and they were all Canadian. And so then they played only Canadian songs. I'm going to be honest, I haven't listened to these shows, and they're a little cheesy to me. But now I will. I promise, guys. All right, and now these shows, there's 5, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's like, I'm doing a repeat of this now, and then and I feel like I can't top it because this is so intense. A Nicolas Cage intense way to begin tip 2019 coverage. So again, I didn't play a lot of songs here. It's also a sign, huh? That you have a lot of content. So who do we have? We had the Colorado Space Red Carpet. So 2 young actors, Julian Hilliard and Brendan Meyer. We had the producer in the movie, or one of the producers, Josh Waller, and then Richard Stanley, and then frickin' Nick Cage. That was exciting. Talking to Nicolas Cage, of course, was a true highlight. That's the biggest celebrity I've ever, gotten some audio from. I mean, yeah, I'm gonna say so. And then we get David Rayboy, who had a really trippy southern set movie called The Giants. And then we get. And then I was at this club, and I did 3 interviews, and it was a little intense. I'm not gonna lie. The crowd was kind of rough. I'm not gonna lie, but I was way less scared than some of the other journalists. I'm not gonna elaborate. But anyways, we have actor London Brown, who I see doing Instagram lives all the time. He's an actor, does stand up, yada yada yada. I heard him on Sirius XM talking about rap music. The guy's a true Renaissance man, and he touches up on that with me in this interview. Then there was a short film called It's Nothing, and I talked to the writer and director of that, Anna Maguire and Julia Lederer. And then there was a show called Insecure, and I talked to one of the actors, Sharonis Jackson. London Brown had no time for me, but Sharonis Jackson was a true sweetheart to me. And we talk about Spike Lee and everything that he did, and Issa Rae. So, geez. You had the red carpet, you had the club, you had David Rayboy. Then I get another little quick audio clip from the Mongrel Media director of marketing, Danish Fadi. And, geez, and then we get the African guys. We get another Hollywood interview. This time, Alan and Nabwana are joined by VJ Emmy, who made fun of me, but in a hilarious way. They'll always remember. And then we get Abba Makama, who directed The Lost of Okoroshi, which is on Netflix, I believe, still. It was on Netflix. I don't know if it still is. I'm not a big Netflix guy. But, good God. And it says there'll be some reviews. I don't know what they were. But whatever, who cares? Wow. Essentially political movies. So again, that was the I had the weird idea that I should be using my platform to help political candidates out, which I think is kind of strange. In hindsight, and I don't plan on doing more stuff like that in the future. So I said Stephanie Mercier, who was an NDP candidate in my writing. 3 TIFF documentary directors, and is really a duo behind the upcoming film Incitement, and a programmer of a German Gangster Film Festival. Okay. So we had, right, what was her name? Yeah, Jutta Brendamul, and she helped me get into the Berlinale. She's like, drop my name, it'll work out for you. Anyways, and I did. Oh, heck yes I did. Then we had Andrew Renzi, who had a documentary about veterans getting deported because of immigration status, and then helping kill Americans through the cartels. So that was fun. It was a Showtime documentary. Maybe it's on Crave, maybe, I don't know. And then Yun Chang, who had a documentary about Robert Fisk, which I loved. The real standout. And then Barbara Koppel. You know, it's too bad. Barbara Koppel was cool. And I thought this was a big get because it was an interesting topic to me. It was about the 1979 Iranian hostage crisis. However, the publicist was saying you should really talk to this Romanian guy because his documentary's hot. And I was like, listen, I know cinema, okay? I'm talking to the woman who's in the topic everyone's talked to death about. And anyways, what was it? The documentary, what was it called? Whatever the hell it was called. Clearly I forgot and everyone else did. Because the Romanian guy, his documentary ends up getting nominated for an Oscar last year. I'm watching the Oscars, best documentaries get announced, and the guy who I passed on his name is read. And I'm thinking, I really blew that one. But anyways, Robert Fisk is an interesting guy, and Yun Chang is a good documentary director. I got to interview him earlier this year as well. And then, Yaron Zilberman and actor Yehuda Nahari Halevi talk about Incitement, which is an anti-Likud movie, I guess. But it looks at basically, when this all the rhetoric that was getting tossed around before Prime Minister Rabin was murdered, and we see it through the eyes of his killer. So yeah, very interesting movie. Very interesting movie. And then we had some tracks. What do we have? I think it's from Dustle Dawn. Did that happen? Yeah. The Passion of the Christ. Sorry, Last Temptation of Christ. I played that soundtrack, a track from another song from that soundtrack recently on October 28th. And yeah, other cool stuff. Great. Okay, cool. Oh, this is crazy. This one was nuts. I've never had so many heavy hitters on one show, I don't think. So Takashi Miike, big. Adam McGowan, big. And Lloyd Kaufman, big. And joined by Adam was his actor David Thewlis. And then Lloyd was joined by his wife, Patricia Kaufman. And then there was a separate interview with Lesla de Oliviera. I'm stopping. And there was a roundtable interview with her. Same with Adam and David as well, actually. And that was promoting the movie Guest of Honor. And then we had tracks. Oh, we played Gozu. That's fun. So yeah, Graveyard of Honor, which last year I had a Graveyard of Honor revisited, and then I did not touch on that title again. It was a sequel broadcast. Hello Weird. What do we have? We had we had Robert Aaron Mitchell, total sweetheart. Met him on the red carpet. Did a few red carpets with him. Yeah, 3. I was aware of his presence on 3 red carpets. And I would see him around, before the Hollywood interview or Takashi Miike interview. Total sweetheart, loves genre movies, great guy. And, successful at doing what he does. He gets on Blu-rays all the time. Those interview clips he does. And then we get, oh God, so Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead, they had this movie Synchronic with Anthony Mackie, and they are the showrunners or like the primary directors of the Moon Knight TV show, which is coming to Disney Plus and stars Oscar Isaac as Ethan Hawke in it. And I just knew something crazy was going to happen to them after getting Anthony Mackie to start in their movie. So congrats to those guys. They came to my Airbnb. Sort of a weird experience, to be honest. But, big ups to them. Not going to play right. And then we had Orson Bahram from Turkey talking about, making freaking horror movies in Turkey. There was that guy, I talked to another Turkish director, but he wasn't a horror director. That was through the Berlinale this year. And then Galder Gastula Urrutia which I know I screwed it up. I screwed it up bad. Okay, I'm sorry. But he directed The Platform, which is a great movie, concepts, horror movie, dark, scary, which you gotta check out. And then I played cool songs. Okay, great. Of course I did. Good to know. And then there was one more. The final TIFF 2019 mega broadcast. So we had David Wingo, who did that movie, The Report, starring Adam Driver. You know, all about, you know, he's like some staffer for Dianne Feinstein, and he finds out people in the Bush administration are torturing people. And then we had that Icelandic guy who had a movie called The County, Grimur Hakanorson. And yeah, it's like it seems a lot like Three Billboards. Yeah. But Three Billboards, it was, I think, just coming out or rapping, or the news came out of it. It wasn't like they ripped it off, but yeah. Shawnee Cohen talked to me about drug policy for a Vice documentary. And then, geez, Russia, Kantemir Balakov, I remember that little Russian playboy from the Caucasus talking to me. And he had some muscle with him. It was a little intimidating. But I think we got a lot of fun. And then a very memorable experience is us to a monk from Bhutan, as well as a British director doing a documentary all about, you know, God, I forget what it was called, but it was all about technology being introduced to Bhutan, and basically this guy Payan Aki was having a hard time doing anything else other than screwing around on his phone, because there's no history of, you know, technology, so they abuse it more. You know, the technology we're used to. I mean, like smartphones, the internet, all that. It came late. It came late to them. Like Bhutan, Mongolia, really isolated communities, and then this is it. So it was like a crazy run. It was like 5 mega broadcasts that I was able to assemble after 2 weeks of work. You know, really grinding. All in-person interviews. I did the same this year. The 5th one's going to come out next week. But those are mostly over Zoom. That's just a different experience, dude. I really miss... 2019 was crazy in Toronto. I'd had to Jason Blum. I'd had to Cardi B. I had a great time. You know, off the record, that is. And then... May the Schwartz be with you. So this is my like half-ass Euro Star Wars ripoff broadcast, because we had people who worked on Star Wars. Where I'm like loosely connecting things. So, but we had Paul Hirsch, who had a book coming out, and he edited A New Hope, and The Empire Strikes Back. Yeep. And then I had a interview with Marianne Jean-Baptiste and Gwendolyn Christie as actresses, as well as the director Peter Strickland, talking about my favorite movie of the year at TIFF, In Fabric. Great times. And so yeah, Gwendolyn Christie she's Captain Phasma. So she's the only actor or actress I've talked to who's worked on a Star Wars movie. And Captain Phasma is that, like, you know, Chrome Dome, the Silver Sword Trooper in The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. And then, oh yeah, we had Jeanette Vincent Doe talking about Jean-Pierre Melville, because I love reading that book. And then, what else do we have? And then we had Marc and Olivier. Marc Chiraud is a producer from France who I met in Toronto and also in Berlin. Saw him again. And then did this conversation with him and his director. Yeah, they're just talking about trying to break into the game. And then the documentary director Matt Gallagher talking about the documentary Prey, which is an interesting play on words. It looks at like pedophilia in the Catholic Church and Anglican Church in Ontario. Yay. So that's a solid follow-up. And then this is a really solid follow-up, too. Love and Sacrifice. Interviews. Oh, it's so provocative sometimes. Love and Sacrifice. Interviews about sex and film as well as love under fascism. Jeez. Good thing it's a midnight show, huh? So I had Valerie Pashner and August Dell, who starred in Terrence Malick's A Hidden Life. Whew. Which had just hit the Cineplexes. And that was a pretty crazy... Like, Nicolas Cage was nuts, but, like, I didn't sit down with Nicolas Cage. I just tried to question him on the red carpet. But these two, they started a Terrence Malick movie, and I got to talk to them in a bougie hotel about it. I mean, that was fantastic. But their movie, they're in a relationship in Nazi Germany. And then I talked to Nathaniel Thompson, MondoDigital.com's Nathaniel Thompson, who's a real, smarty pants. And then we talked about Russ Meyer, but I talked to a scriptwriter and producer as well, who actually knew Russ Meyer. And he reached out because he saw that I had the interview coming out with Nathaniel. Then he reached out to me, and he produced, and he wrote 2001 Maniacs, the sequel, the remake of 2000 Maniacs. So that was nuts. And then I talked to Heather Drain, who's another, film scholarly type, about Frank Henenlotter's great documentary, That's Sexploitation, which is a pretty good history of porn from the 20s up until the rise of hardcore in the 70s. And it's the last on-screen interview with David Friedman, who was actually blind at the time. David Friedman, if you don't know, was a prolific producer of sleaze, including Ilsa She Wolf of the SS, Blood Feast, and the list goes on. And then we circle back to Nazis. That's funny. With Marcus Alexander Stigliger, who I did meet in Berlin, and we talk about the Italian Nazi exploitation movies. So it's they call them Nazi exploitations, and they're very insane. So yeah, this is a cool broadcast. It's crazy that could happen, though. This would not happen on CBC. I don't think you could go this hard. Wow. No. Okay, so I had some fun tracks here from Russ Meyer movies. It's also from Russ Meyer movies. Okay, and Eddie Morricone son from Days of Heaven, but that's hilarious. Members only. So I had some ladies, female guests. I made an attempt to do a broadcast with only female guests. I think this is the only one. So yeah, the documentary director is April Wright, who had a cool documentary about, it was about movie palaces. And then just like theaters in general. So, and then Rebecca Snow had stuff about reproductive rights, like political stuff. And then Kimmy Sullivan, I don't even remember the movie. I don't even remember the movie she was in. That's so intense. But I remember also she only talked to me for 5 minutes. That was rough. And then Rebecca Howard, who was doing stuff for Arrow Video and Universal, and sort of not a celebrity, let's just say, more of a behind the scenes lady. But I was trying to empower women. Maybe it's because I did the Love Under Fascism broadcast and I felt sticky. Oh, that's funny. And then, so members only, I remember, I couldn't get anyone to do interviews. It was December 26th this broadcast came out. And hey, we all need a break. All right, so we got a few more broadcasts to talk about. So, Canada to Italy in the form of Godzilla was a memorable broadcast. The final TIFF interview airs. So, I did a mega broadcast, but I was sitting at one more. So, director Matthew Rankin and lead Dan Byrne talk about the Midnight Madness movie, the 20th Century, which was very interesting. And that was like a surrealist take on William Mackenzie, Canadian Prime Minister, who was sort of an occultist and a weirdo. And that was a fun movie and good interview. And it was in person, and we were having fun. We're having fun, man. Pre-corona. And then Christopher Giroux, my buddy, Toronto producer, done a bunch of stuff. Total sweetheart. And we were just chilling at a Denny's. We were at a diner. Was it a Denny's? I almost said Benny's. It was a Denny's. And we were having beer, we were having eggs. Dishy 60 was happening. He had just done a panel. And then he rolled with me and we went out, recorded the interview. We had fun. He said it was one of the funniest interviews he's ever done. Or maybe the funniest. So that's great. And then, Luigi Cosi. So he was calling me from Profondo Rosso, the movie merch store or movie memorabilia store in Rome. And he's Dario Argento's buddy. He's in the inner circle. You know, Dario talks about it in his autobiography, Fear, a lot. But yeah, I had been trying to get Luigi on the phone for 2 years. Or really, I just tried once. I called him like 30 times. I was having... It's like very, very difficult to dial out from the station internationally. Especially to like Europe. There's all these numbers you get to press it. And I didn't know if I was doing it right. But then it turned out he just didn't feel like it. So it was like, well, forget you, man. I waited 2 years to reach out to him again. But I'm so glad I did. Because it was fun. It was fun. There were sort of translation issues. You know, I don't speak Italian. His English isn't the best. But I reviewed a couple of his movies on October 14th. Paganini, Horror, and The Black Cat. I love The Black Cat. Great movie. And Contamination is a lot of fun. And Star Crash is great. I love it. And then we had Steve Reifel. And this is a scoop because he wrote all over the... like his essays are included in the Godzilla, the Showa era box set from Criterion, which I have. That is a great set. But I was the first person to reach out to interview him. So, I mean... This show was not insignificant. Like the names I'm mentioning, the concepts I got away with, and then moments like this show was really good. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn. I'm just just proud of it as an accomplishment. Reading back on it because I don't go through this stuff every day. Okay, meh. So. There's this one. People Who Talk Movies. This is fun. So these were 2 very long conversations. Typically, I write 10 questions per interview. But for Troy, I wrote 15 because he had a couple things going on. We talked about Abbott and Costello for a bit. I had just begun consuming the box set from Shout Factory. And he did a couple of commentary tracks on that, and they're pretty good. So I wanted to talk to him about Abbott and Costello, and then we talked about his John Carpenter book that had not come out yet at that point, but he was working on it. And it was a shift for us because we've subsequently done an interview about Martin Scorsese and Robert De Niro movies, focusing really on The Irishman. But we had talked about Italian horror movies in general the first time, and then Fulci sexuality specifically, which I thought was a great topic. And he had a sort of a visual essay about it to touching on some of those things on The Devil's Honey. It's funny, he told me he hadn't actually seen it because he's a busy guy. He sort of doesn't gets the money or whatever and moves on. Anyways, here we're talking about those 2 topics, and then Eric Hominick, Steve Reifel asked me to reach out to him. Because he is like the expert on Akira Ifukube. I believe he did his dissertation on him. And Akira Ifukube is the composer to Godzilla movies, most memorably. And other Japanese movies. So, okay. So I played some of that vinyl that I picked up. Escape from New York, a vinyl that I picked up in L.A. And then of course, it has some Akira Ifukube tracks. And this is a popular show. People really like the film scholarly stuff more than people like plug-in projects. And I feel like that's like the correct. I feel like it should be that way. I'm personally more interested in talking to historians, most of the time, about like a topic than just like someone who doesn't give a shit at plug-in projects, which I've had a bit of over the years. But that being said, someone who's passionate about their projects and we're just shooting the breeze about it, that's cool. That's cool. I like passion though. If you haven't picked up on that yet. Okay. And then I had this one right here. More people who talk movies. Jeez. It was sort of a follow-up. Yeah, with Sam Deacon. And we talked about the Tenet. Oh my god. Eric Zaldivar. Who was Mike Malloy's buddy. And had a cool YouTube channel that I bumped into. That was all about spaghetti westerns. I love that. And then Andrew Leavold, who's Australian. Sam and Eric are American, and Andrew is Australian, and he is very passionate about, Filipino movies, and yeah, I had seen him come to the Main Fair with his Wayne Wayne documentary, and I thought, this is a good guy to reach out to years later. And I'm glad I did, because this was a very popular broadcast too. This was even more popular than the one before. Oh, and then I reviewed the New York Asian Film Festival Winter Showcase. That's funny. I remember queuing up 7 reviews, and then these Shaw Brothers Stingers. That was fun. So yeah, this is a fun ass broadcast, and the last one I would do in person before Berlin, and the second last broadcast I would air in person. That's nuts. This is a good one to be almost over with. I mean the Berlinale vibes one I want to get to, but February 28th. Did I have any interviews? No, I didn't have any interviews. I had nothing. That's okay. Did I really have nothing? No. I had Kat Allinger. This is just not in the write-up. There were other people. There was Kat Allinger. There was talking about Daughters of Darkness. And then there was another one. Oh, there was the guy talking about... what's his name? Sean Leonard. Who is like an Aboriginal psychic medium. And he was sort of messing with me in the interview. I found it a little disturbing. But it's on YouTube anyways, for people who are into that sort of thing. I think that's it, interview-wise, for this show. And again, I haven't listened to it. I'm not a jungle head like these guys are. They are serious about this genre. Okay. And then I will touch on... my return from Europe and last in-person broadcast. Berlinale vibes. Interviews with creators of mood-driven movies from the 70th Berlin International Film Festival. Alright. So we had Sturla Brandeth Groveland, who did Last of First Men, which was amazing. Great documentary. Well, not sorry. It's a feature film. It's a quick one, though. And then we had, and he's from, where's he from? Sturla. I think he's from Iceland. And then we had Lilia Steinenberg from, oh my god, I'm getting images now. So I get a room wide. So with Sturla, he's a very accomplished cinematographer, and he helps finish that movie, Last and First Men, which is narrated by Tilda Swinton, and was the directorial debut of Johan Johansson, but he passed while making it. He had a cocaine overdose. And that movie takes sculptures from post-war Yugoslavia to sort of express what's going on, sort of a call for communism, and the movie is about, you know, humanity at the end of the road, talking to humanity now through Tilda Swinton. So it is a very strange and powerful piece of work. And I remember talking to Sterling very well. We were in the Berlinale Palace, or Palast, and sort of up a few floors. Very cool time in my life. Right before coronavirus, my first, hopefully not last, in-person European Film Festival. I'm sort of getting swept up in emotion thinking about it. It's kind of weird. Maybe just having gone through, this is like a culmination of everything that this stream has covered to arrive at this point was pretty nuts. And it's sort of personal. You can't really, I was there by myself. I have no one to share these memories with, really. Except for like people that I work with or whatever, or bump into. But anyways, sorry. And then with the Orphea actress, Lilith, that was at the Volksbahn. Is that what it was called? It was the People's Theater. So it was like an absurdist communist theater that got blown up once or twice. And it is like a very, when I went in there, people were playing like, you know, string instruments and surrealist images were playing on the wall. Everyone's chattering away in German. One of the most intense things I've ever seen in my life. Yeah. Very, very cool. And then, sorry, I'm losing my voice. Director Camilo Restrepo talking about his movie, what was it? Encounters, right? Yeah, cool movie. A little trippy. So it gave me Jodorowsky vibes. He wasn't going for it at all. And then two Americans, Courtney Stevens and Pacho Velez with The American Center, which is all about people who own pieces of the Berlin Wall in America. So how appropriate that documentary would play at the Berlinale. And then, you know, some reviews. And then I played only Johan Johansson music as like a sign of respect. And I was really into the Last and First Man soundtrack at the time. I haven't listened to it much lately. Maybe they'll change soon. Anyways, this was, I returned, coronavirus was happening, everything was about to get locked up, and this is my last in-person broadcast in my CKCU FM career. What a one to end with. So in the next stream, which will come out sometime next week, we will talk about everything that I've done since during coronavirus, which has been an awful lot. So there's 3 more Berlinale ones, and then all of this. It's like 40 shows. It's the majority. This stream's going to take a while. Probably take like an hour and a half. I thought this one would go by quicker, and it didn't really. It was still very long. But yeah, thanks for following. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel. And then follow me on Instagram at Movie Mystic 2021. It's Twitter, movie_mystic. The TikTok, I don't have it handy right now. And then offhand, sorry. And then Letterboxd is Movie Mystic. All right, well, thank you very much for watching this, and be well, yeah.